Our next talk is Alex Migitko, Blockchain Beyond Hype.
Hi everyone. I will try not to take much of your time, especially because a lot of the things I wanted to say actually resonate with what previous speaker said anyway. So I'll talk a little bit more about blockchain because I'm involved in this area anyway, hands-on for quite a time already, especially, keeping in mind that the industry and technology and everything is still very, very young. Blockchain came in as a hype, like really serious hype a few years ago. Even though the technology appeared much before that, still it's like maybe a year ago, something like that, when literally everywhere in the media it exploded. Like, I don't know, in Russia, multiple websites that are dedicated to technologies started to add Bitcoin price at the end of the day to their euro and dollar rates against ruble, for example, right? So it became really something mainstream, and that's probably one of the first times when a technology grew that fast in the media, in the first place, of course, when it has a significant impact, not just on the technology side of the whole story, but also on the media, on the social side, and on the economical side, right? It's even though, for example, AI is also a great thing, right, and it impacts us a lot, probably we have much less media experts on AI than we have on blockchain and Bitcoin especially. So, and that all taken in the situation when blockchain as a technology has actually much more, obviously, applications than just Bitcoin, right? But that's something like everybody knows already, and I don't really want to go deep into that. However, the problem here would be that, okay, all of those things are possible and they are great, but it's not like they do already exist, especially on the scale. For example, like really cryptocurrencies, that's pretty much the only widely used case for the blockchain at the moment, right? Even Ethereum, which was supposed to bring all those beautiful things like smart contracts and interaction between multiple organizations, still the public blockchain is basically used for three things: Ethereum and tokens as a cryptocurrency, ICOs, and CryptoKitties, which didn't make us as a humanity much better off so far. Which is quite sad. But there is a reason for that, obviously, because like our friends from Serbian Blockchain Initiative counted a few months ago, and that's their number, right? I'm giving them the credits, and it's their fault if it's wrong. A real number of people working with blockchain hands-on around the world is around 10,000, which is pretty much nothing, right? It's not like you can actually create something significant and impactful having such a small number of specialists, right? And then it's not just about, actually the number of people in media covering blockchain would be like, I don't know, two magnitudes of this number. But they are not producing much beyond the hype. Mining doesn't also, a lot of people say that they have something to do with blockchain, and again, that would be like mining, for example, or investing in cryptocurrencies, or doing similar things. Of course, this number is growing on the daily basis because, again, the demand for such specialists is huge, and it's growing, and the pressure is great, and everything. But then it also creates one another problem. All right. If we are to really, develop the platform, develop the technology, then we need people dedicated to that. And they're a scarce resource. And that means that, in the end of the day, majority will go to the place that offer them more short-term benefits rather than long-term impact on the world itself, right? I believe Marco would do much better off today if he joined, some cryptocurrency-related startup than working in IBM research. But, thankfully, he has more things that are much more interesting for him, and that's like in-depth research. Not too many people would do the same, right? Majority with his skill set would join, for example, EOS platform, which raised like $4 billion, and is very notorious for that. And is very notorious for its blockchain stopping on the second day of operation. after their actual mainnet launch. So it's like very different thing when we are actually trying to build some applications on top of the blockchain than like us discussing the blockchain and especially Bitcoin and things like that. If you have a look, and that was one of the challenges for us as well. If you try to find some events, some conferences dedicated to the blockchain, the technology, to its impact and actual applications in the finance or any other industry, you would have really hard times. We managed to find one actually that does make a lot of sense for us to go for, and it's Hyperledger Summit in Basel, end of the year. And meantime, you have like a blockchain-related event conference, not even talking about meetups, so smaller scale events every day somewhere in the world. But like all of them would be dedicated to ICOs and cryptocurrencies, trading on exchanges, making your portfolio or whatever. So again, for us, for example, and I believe for a lot of us, it's much more important to see what would be the real world applications that we can, or at least try to create today for the industry. And that's where we come to the Hyperledger stack inevitably. Just a few examples from what we are doing, and that's something that really resonates. Real market is something that we are trying to build using the blockchain, and that's not a crowdfunding even platform. It's more like a platform for people to cooperate in a more efficient manner than we can do that today. So it's like a decentralized marketplace of ideas and investors and people who can contribute in also non-monetary way. And of course, that's where all those beautiful things like, you know, trustless and global and smart contracts all really takes place and take their application. The problem is that we have to do a lot of things from scratch, even though they are like, you know, book examples for the blockchain for smart contracts. If you open, I believe, Ethereum's guide, like for dummies, literally, then you would see the first example would be the escrow. And there are no services that would actually provide it as a service, let's say, escrow for cryptocurrencies as a service. You just cannot find it. That's it. Even that has to be created from scratch if you need to have it as a component of your project. Another, again, pretty much, you know, hyped thing, let's say, these days is the digital identity, which definitely is something we need, right? Because whenever we want to take next step into all this decentralization, improved cooperation and so on, it all starts from the individual, from the person. And the person should have his identity, his, her, it doesn't matter. Identity is the king. Identity is where it all begins. Everything else is additional module, basically. It can be this, or can be that, and so on. But the identity and the person, right? Our ability to guarantee the uniqueness of the person is something important from, again, multiple standpoints, not just technological or project-wise or so on, but also those are the things about dignity and you know, transparency and other things. That's another project that we are working on in our group, Blinking, and it's exactly about that. Of course, since, again, we are trying to get closer to the industrial requirements of the real world, we have to, and we want actually to comply with all the requirements that they have, including, like, you know, the day zero pains of GDPR and upcoming pains of next regulations in the European Union, PSD2, and whatnot. So, anyway, I don't want, again, to take much of your time, and I believe the future depends a lot on us in the first place, in how good we can be at following the long-term goals in the first place, right? Not being short-sighted, but actually trying to understand, okay, we want to have something in, not in a year, but in 10, 15 years, and that's something we must invest in today. Not talking about money, of course, but about our time and our attention even, right? Because then we'll end up literally just, you know, trading the cryptocurrencies on the exchanges and won't make much much benefit for the world as it is. Thank you. For hype to be over, basically it's most important point would be when the majority of people will separate, cryptocurrencies and ICOs from the blockchain as a technology and from the benefits that it presents to the world, right? Our ability to cooperate better, to cooperate faster, to do things autonomously, to depend less on certain things that we don't want to depend on, and so on. It will take a lot of time, actually, and the best moment for that would be literally when the volatility of cryptocurrencies will fall down dramatically. It's not about the price even, right? Okay, let it be 100,000, let it be 10,000, $1,000 per Bitcoin, but when it's stable for like a year, everybody will forget about it, right? Because it doesn't bring these immediate short-term benefits. And then people will not be distracted by that anymore. Other than that, everybody will be just jumping on the hype train and goodbye, thank you.
Yeah, could you just talk more about the projects that you mentioned? What was Real Market? I can't remember the other one, but who's making them? What is their status?
Okay, sure. Blinking is actually both of those projects are developed here in Serbia, one in Belgrade, one in Novi Sad. Blinking is the cooperation actually between the industry, let's say, and the academy, and Real Market as well is cooperation between academy and the industry, right? So we have some people who have been working already previously on blockchain hands-on and other technologies, and we have people from the academical world, let's say, who bring in much more of their expertise in that. And Blinking is focused on digital identity on the blockchain, and Real Market is about, let's say, if we make it really simple, it's a crowdfunding anyway. Crowdfunding, crowdsourcing platform. And everything is built on blockchain, on Fabric.
Sure. I have a related question. I would like to learn more about Blinking, but this will take offline. But is it similar to Sovereign?
In a way, yeah. In a way it is, but there are certain differences, and from the architectural perspective as well. So it's like we started developing it before Indy, for example, kicked in, before it appeared, right? So we built it on top on Fabric completely, and there were certain challenges along the way, of course, but that's like something that Miroslav can explain much better. Yeah, because